What's up, Facebook? Ty Crandall with Credit Suite here, and today we're talking about credit lines. One of my favorite topics. My second favorite topic. I love business credit first because there's no personal guarantee, there's no personal credit check, and you can never go wrong with credit that doesn't require personal liability, it doesn't require personal credit checks. But my second favorite are credit lines because credit lines can be used, they can be reused, and if you do it the right way, you can get very low interest rates on credit lines, even with what's going on right now with coronavirus. So today we're going to talk about a lot of different credit lines that you're able to get right now, even with what's going on with coronavirus. I mean, I had that little smidgen for other training, and all of this today is what we're going to be talking about for credit lines. This is my daughter's spot. Just so you know why there's always a blank spot on the board. My chalkboard artist always leaves a drawing spot for my 9-year-old daughter. So that's why you see that. But the rest of the board is all about credit lines today. I'm going to teach you a bunch of different ways to be able to get credit lines for your business. So that being said, a lot's happening with coronavirus. A lot of people are looking at SBA, PPP loans, EIDL loans, a lot of other crazy ways to get money. But there's still a lot of tried and true credit lines, even some new stuff that's available for you to make it easy to get the money that you need to grow your business. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. So remember, a lot of benefits of credit lines, okay? You've got to meet all the lending requirements, but the nice thing here is that you're able to come in and you're able to basically get a line of credit with a max amount of money that you can actually access per the lender. Okay, so you're only paying interest and payments on what you use. You can reuse these credit lines. You can pay down the balance. You can use the available credit again and again. Now, but the problem is true lines of credit are hard to find. Okay, a lot of times they refer to credit cards as credit lines when they're really credit cards. Drives me crazy. So we're going to talk about lines of credit today. Okay, and exactly what it takes. A lot of these require time in business. They require financials. They require a lot of other stuff a lot of you might not have. I'm going to talk about these. I'm also going to talk about alternatives that don't require that. I'm going to talk about alternatives that work for startups. I'm going to talk about ways to get credit, revolving credit with bad credit. I'm going to talk about even if you don't have financials, a lot of those options we'll dive into today. But my goal is to find at least a credit line or two that may work for you no matter what your situation is by the end of the training today. So if you're interested in getting approved for credit or financing, I'll show you some things along the way. Here's our phone number, 877-600-2487. You can always get approved automatically online at creditsuite.com/get funding. And thanks for the likes. Thanks for the loves, guys. I appreciate you tuning in. Steve, what's up? And Jansen, my buddy, the man with the master plan who teaches business loan brokers all that they know is on here as well. Welcome, Jansen. Okay, so let's dive in and talk about where not to start. And here it is. So there's a couple of places you don't want to start. And it all leads back to the same place. SBA cap lines, also unsecured lines of credit with banks, okay? So these two are pretty much the same thing. If you go to your bank, you're going to be applying and getting an SBA line of credit, or it's called a cap line. So here's what you need to know. Banks don't, in the business world, typically lend a lot of their own money without it being guaranteed from SBA. If you go into your bank, they're going to give you a loan that is guaranteed by SBA. Two problems with that. One, SBA's, I don't know, a little bit busy right now, as you might imagine, with EIDL and PPP loans. Getting anything through SBA besides EIDL and PPP loans is a lost cause right now. So if you're going to a bank to get a credit line, it's a real uphill battle because they can only issue those through SBA, and the banks and the SBA are buried right now. They're not able to even get to you or your application. The second problem is, let's be honest, they're hard to qualify. You have to qualify for your bank. You have to qualify for SBA. You have to have income statements and balance sheets. You have to have tax returns for 3 years. You have to have bank statements. Your revenue can't be declining. You have to have near flawless personal credit. You have to have collateral to offset the debt. I'm exhausted even listing the basic requirements that SBA has. They're really hard to get. So you need to know that if you go through your bank, you're going to be dealing with this right here. They're called SBA cap lines. That's SBA's term for their umbrella program that covers all of their actual credit lines. Now, I'm not going to go through all their cap lines with you. I'll just tell you that if you're a builder, if you're in construction, if you accept payments like you're in a seasonal business, there's all kinds of credit lines that SBA has that are just specifically for you and those purposes. But I can just tell you that, again, SBA is pretty buried right now, and they're all hard to qualify. So if you go through a bank, just know that you're going to be looking at an SBA cap line, And that is what their unsecured bank lines of credit are. They're basically all guaranteed by SBA. Now, you can get loans up to $5 million, okay? A lot of stuff you can do. You can get a line as a builder. You can get a contract line if you're a construction company. You can get a seasonal credit line that I mentioned. You can get a working capital credit line. But again, they all require good credit, cash flow, and collateral to get approved. So what's some easier ways to get approved? Well, let's look at what you may have. If you have an asset such as inventory, for example, then you can get a lot of financing using that asset. Line of credit for about 50% of the value of the inventory, low interest rates as low as 5%, if you have inventory as much as $500,000. Now, that being said, there's also some credit lines based on other assets you may have. Maybe you have stocks, bonds, 401ks, or IRAs. All of those open up low interest rate credit lines as well. So if you have assets including inventory, 401ks, stocks, bonds, or IRAs, any of those can be used as collateral to get financing. Now here's the best part. Even if you don't, but somebody else you know does, dad, mom, friend, family member, investor, they can pledge their own 401k, stocks, bonds, IRAs, and use those as collateral to get you financing. I only say that because 75% of us get money from family and friends. If I'm going to go to my dad and ask my dad for money, it's easier for me to have my dad pledge his stocks and me get a 5% interest rate credit line than asking my dad for cash. If I go to my dad and say, Dad, look, my business is in trouble. Coronavirus has happened and I just need money for 2 months. Okay, I need a $50,000 credit line. Can you give me $50,000? My dad's gonna be like, dude, that's $50,000. That's a lot of money. But if I go to dad and say, I know you have stocks, can I just pledge those as collateral and get my credit line at 5% low interest rate? I'll even pay my payments through you so you know they're getting paid. Well, then it's easier for him to let me come in as a guarantor on those stocks because he only loses money if I default. He doesn't have to give me the money in the interim. He can still keep the stocks. He can still earn the interest. It doesn't cost him any money in my pocket unless I actually default. So I'm just giving you that option because it's easier to get money from stocks, bonds, 401ks, and IRAs than it is to get cash from other people that you may know. And Frank says, good information. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Jorge says, what's up, Ty? Thanks for doing everything you do. Thank you, man. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. And Skip says, Ty and Credit Suite are awesome. Thanks, buddy. I will miss you. It's good seeing you. And Troy says, love the knowledge you share with us. My credit profile is making moves. That's awesome, man. We just got off an hour-and-a-half training session on YouTube. I guess in my life, an hour-and-a-half training session on YouTube. I'm with y'all here for like 30 minutes, and then I'm back to another hour training session with our partner. So I'm glad you're getting information from it as well. Okay, so that being said, we know what SBA is. These are harder to get. We talked about many options here. Inventory financing, 401k, stocks, bonds, IRAs, all can be used. Now, this is another one called it's an account receivable credit line. So with this one, you're basically able to use account receivables or payments that your customers pay you and get a line of credit on that as well. Now, you should have 1 year time in business. You can get interest rates as low as 0.5% per week outstanding. So if you're borrowing the money for very short periods of time, then you're able to come in and get a very low interest rate without paying a lot of it back. And you're able to come in and get funding for as much as actually 1 year with this program, and you can get as much as 90% of your receivables financed. So that being said, I just found it. I just found the button that was turning on my flash. 2 years after doing Facebook Lives, I just figured it out. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so here's what we need to know. What we're talking about so far is all what I call collateral-based lending or asset-based lending. You have an asset that can be pledged as collateral to get money. If you do that, very small interest rate, very cheap interest rate. So far, we talked about inventory. We've talked about stocks. We talked about bonds. We talked about 401ks. We talked about IRAs. And then we also talked about account receivables, where your customers pay you on terms. So if your customers pay you on terms, you can get up to 90% financing. So what that would mean is it would mean that if, let's say, you have $100,000 that's owed to you by your customers, okay, instead of waiting 3 months, 4 months to get paid, they would give you $90,000 of that $100,000 in 24 hours right away, and then the rest of it you're able to actually get when your customer pays your invoice. You can get that in the form of a loan. You can get that in the form of a credit line. So using these assets like inventory, stocks, bonds, 401ks, or IRAs, account receivables is a great way to get money. Now, there's actually credit lines available based on your revenue as well. So if you have decent profit margins, like 20% profit margins, you're able to actually supply tax returns and be able to get credit lines fairly quick using your revenue to qualify. Now, you're going to have a year time in business, and this program, typically, they want to see better credit. So as much as about a 620, 650 credit score at least or higher. but what they're really looking for is very stable income. If your bank statement shows stable income, your tax return shows stable income, and you have average credit, then you're able to get financing using your revenue to qualify for revenue-based credit lines. These are becoming very rare for obvious reasons. A lot of people's revenue isn't consistent. It's declining right now with coronavirus. So this is a possibility, but it's more rare than some of the other credit lines that are out there right now because, again, cash flow with a lot of people is decreasing right now. It's not increasing. So another credit line, and Connie says, can you use CDs for collateral? Yeah. Oh, let me go. Let me check it. Oh, yes. There are programs where you can use CDs as collateral to get financing, absolutely. If we can help you with any of this kind of financing, all you have to do is just give us a ring, 877-600-2487. CreditSuite.com/get funding is how you get approved, and we can get you to a funding source that can actually help you. Okay, our specialty is business credit, everything to do with credit lines and corporate credit. Okay, but we work with over 1,000 lending sources that can help you with loans and credit lines and other kind of financing as well. So again, there's all kinds of options we have to make it easier for you to get the financing you need like that. Pretty creative program. Okay, so this is AI credit lines, my absolute favorite credit lines that currently exist. These can be obtained no doc with as little as 6 months in business and 0.5% interest rate per week outstanding. That means if you borrowed this money for 2 weeks, you'd only pay a 1% interest rate. It's super cheap money if you're borrowing it for a short period of time. So let's talk about what AI credit lines are. These are artificial intelligence credit lines, and here's how they work. They use AI technology that will plug right into your bank account and look at what they need to look at automatically without you supplying bank statements. So there's no manual bank statement review. Saves you time. You don't have to supply documentation, but it makes the underwriting process super fast. You can typically get approved for this kind of financing within 24 hours and get your credit line in 24 hours. It's sick. It's awesome. This is the #1 credit line that we have. It's my favorite credit line. We have it for $100,000, 0.5% interest rate for every week outstanding. If you put the whole thing, if you max out the credit line, basically it doesn't matter. You have 6 months to pay back the money that's on that credit line. But we use it. We used it through coronavirus. We loved it. We used it. We weren't sure of some things, so we used the credit line to get us through coronavirus. Then we paid the credit line off. We use it to take advantage of all kinds of opportunities, and you can get approved for this one directly at creditsuite.com/fundbox. FUNDBOX. That's creditsuite.com/fundbox. Now you can of course give us a ring and we'll talk to you more about it as well, or you can get approved online, but I'm going to give you an example of somebody that we actually helped to get this credit line. So my buddy called me and said, hey man, I'm getting ready to get an expensive merchant cash advance. I wanted to see if there's a better option. I said, there is a better option. What do you need? He said, I need about $30,000. I said, here's how this is going to work. We're going to send you over. You're going to get approved for about $3,000 to $6,000. Call them up, and if you give them financials and your tax returns look good, they'll probably give you a $30,000 credit limit. And they did. They gave him a $30,000 credit limit. He used it to buy what he needed to buy. He paid it off within 2 weeks, paid less than a 1% interest rate. He was getting ready to pay 40% interest, and now he's got that credit line to use and reuse. After he uses it a while, then he goes back and says, hey, I want a credit bump, and they bump him to $100,000. Did the same thing for us. Small approval. Then they bumped us to $30,000 when we supplied tax returns. Then we got a $100,000 credit line. Now we have two sources for this. One will approve you for up to $100,000. One will approve you for up to $150,000. The one for $150,000 has a 620 FICO score requirement. The one for $100,000 has a no FICO score requirement. If you want the higher limits, they're going to pull your FICO. For smaller limits, they might not even do a credit check. They didn't even do a credit check to approve us initially. Then when we wanted a higher limit, they did a credit check for us, but it's well worth it to get a $100,000 credit line. So I love AI credit lines because we use artificial intelligence to be able to make the underwriting decision, so it's fast money. You can get your credit line available within 24 hours. This AI credit line is the #1 credit line that it's one of the biggest credit lines we use the most. When we're making bigger purchases, we use that credit line the most. The #1 program we use is something you've probably heard me talk about before. These guys, 0% unsecured credit lines. So with 0% unsecured credit lines, here's how this works. You're often able to get 0% for up to 18 months' time. You need to have now a 680 FICO score to get approved, but you can get as much as $150,000 in financing. Now, they're going to want you to have some kind of bank credit card on your credit report now with a 2 to 3 year history, preferably with a $2,000 to $3,000 limit to be able to get approved. And how much you can get approved for depends on your debt ratio. They want you to preferably stay under 30%. They want preferably less than 6 inquiries. But if you get this, then you can get individual limit credit lines for $10,000 to basically $50,000, and you can get about 5 to 8 of these kind of credit lines. Maurice says, would this work for new LLC? Yes. Maurice, you could be able to get stocks financing, 401k, IRAs, bonds. You can also get the AI credit line if you've been in business 6 months as a startup business. And this one I'm about to show you works very well for startups. So credit line hybrid, 0% rate for up to 18 months. Here's why I call it credit line hybrid. Because a credit card, the best benefit is 0% rates for 18 months. The best benefit of a credit line is you could take the cash out. With credit line hybrid, you get both. You could pull the cash out at 0%. That's sick. It's so ridiculous. I love this thing. You can get 0% interest for up to 18 months and take the cash out of the credit line. I didn't get enough likes or loves for that. You could take the cash out of the credit line at 0%. That's sick. It's ridiculous. So I love this program. All you need is a 680 FICO or a guarantor that has a 680 FICO. So if you don't want to have one, but mom has one, dad has one, brother has one, sister has one, investor has one, this program could very well work for you. Works for startups, works for nonprofits, works, there you go, I'm getting some likes and loves finally. It works for high-risk industries. It works for just about anybody. You just need a 680 FICO. Now, I've given you a broad overview here of qualification. I can sit here for 3 hours and give you every underwriting guideline. I can just tell you with credit line hybrid, it's pretty basic. They want you to have good credit. If you have derogatory items in your credit report, it's going to be a problem. If you have bankruptcies, judgments, it's a no-go. If your utilization's too high, if you have too many inquiries, they may approve you, but for a smaller amount of money. Just some things to keep in mind. Okay, but you can get approved for up to $150,000, 0% no doc. One of my favorite credit lines that's out there today. So in summary, okay, probably one of the better programs out there. So let's take a look at some of the best credit lines. Remember, stay away from the banks. They're going to offer these cap lines, a lot of different cap lines available. You need to have good personal credit. You need to have good cash flow. You need to have collateral. Even if you have it, you still want to avoid them because of these 3 letters right here. They're buried right now with PPP loans and EIDL. They are just not doing a lot of these loans, which means you need to stay away from banks. Big banks are not going to help you with lines of credit right now because all of their lines of credit come from SBA and SBA is buried. Where do you go? It depends on your strength. If your strength is at some kind of collateral, inventory, or account receivables, or stocks or bonds, or 401ks or IRAs, use that asset to be able to get low rate credit lines. If your strength happens to be that you have revenue, you can get a revenue-based credit line at a very low rate as well. $25,000 is the going number for that, pretty common to see. If you've been in business about 6 months and your income is stable, then you can get these artificial intelligence credit lines. One goes to $100,000, one goes to $150,000. You can go to creditsuite.com/fundbox, FUNDBOX, to get approved for the one for $100,000. No doc financing unless you want higher amounts. Then they may ask for tax returns. Super low rates. That's a period. That's a 0.5% interest rate per week outstanding. If the money's outstanding for a short period of time, very good credit line to get here. Now, I didn't mention this, but there's a lot of private equity investors that will offer credit lines as well that could work for you, up to $1 million. For this, you need about a 650 FICO score and 2 years worth of tax return. So I didn't mention that, but another great program that could work for you as well. And don't forget credit line hybrid, 0% rates for up to 18 months, no doc, no bank statements, no tax returns, no income documents needed at all. You just need a 680 FICO, and you can get up to $150,000. How much you get depends on how high your current limits are now, your utilization, how high it is, how many inquiries you have. That's going to determine how much you get. Works for startups, works for nonprofits. Don't forget, if you don't have good credit, but you have a guarantor that does, you can use the guarantor's good credit to get approved. If you have a guarantor that has stocks, bonds, 401ks, IRAs, You can use their cash flow to get approved. And then also don't forget you can use account receivables or your customers paying you on payment terms to get loans and or low interest rate credit lines as well. So definitely some options there. Okay, and then let me answer some questions here before I wrap up. Okay, Flynn says, I got 3 years on my LLC but stuck. I got an unlimited amount with Sunbelt. That's my last trade line. We're talking about, it depends on how many trade lines you get. There's no reason to get stuck. How business credit building is all based on how many trade lines you have. So if you're stuck, that means you don't have enough. You need to keep applying and getting more trade lines. If you don't know where to apply, go to youtube.com/credit suite. Just now at 1 o'clock Eastern today, we did a webinar with 7 vendors that will help you build business credit. If you missed that, go to youtube.com/credit suite and you will be able to access those 7 vendors to get unstuck. Hopefully that helps you. Monique says, I would love to work with you, but we all know business isn't looking the best, so I can't afford you right now. Yes, you can. I'm going to tell you a secret. Monique, don't tell everybody else. We actually have programs that aren't even listed on our website that are very, very, very affordable. If you call our team, you got to say a very special keyword. Here it is, Genesis. If you call them and say, I heard Ty today talk about an affordable way to build business credit with Credit Suite named Genesis, can you tell me about that? We will tell you more about that program. Give us a ring, 877-600-2487, and we will tell you more about Genesis. The way Genesis works is it's very similar to our normal business credit builder, but you're working with our technology and not our advisors. And since our advisors, who are very helpful and phenomenal at helping you through this process, since they're not involved, it can be much more affordable for you. So remember, the key word is Genesis. If you call them and say, hey, tell me more about Genesis, I think, Monique, you're going to be very happy because you're going to realize that that is a fraction of our normal investments, and it's not even on our website. It's like secret. You have to know the code word Genesis or to even know it, and for our team to even talk to you about it. Now you know that. So Flynn says, no PG is what I'm looking for. Again, that 7 vendors credit line, I think Flynn can really help you. And Monique says, for the 0% unsecured credit line bureau is pulled. All of them are pulled. It depends on the credit limit, credit lines. There's a lot of credit lines that are issued. They'll get you about 5 to 8 credit lines with this, and they're going to look at any of all 3 of the bureaus. So all 3 of your FICOs need to be UF 680 for the credit line hybrid to work, but don't forget, you can still build business credit. I didn't even talk to you about that. You can still come in. I don't even have it. Where's on my board? It's not even on my board. It's not even on the board. Don't forget, you can still build business credit to get high limit credit cards as well. Visa cards, MasterCards, cash credit you can use for a lot of different purposes. If you go to creditsuite.com/Facebook, you'll get a free guide that maps out the step. creditsuite.com/Facebook. If you go to youtube.com/Credit Suite, you can access our webinar today on 7 vendors that will help you build business credit. You don't need cash flow. You don't need good credit. You don't need collateral. You can build business credit and get credit cards with high limits with no personal guarantee, no personal credit check using business credit. And today on YouTube, we mapped out that exact process for that to work as well. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. If we can help you get any of these credit lines or more, give us a ring at 877-600-2487. We will do a free funding assessment, tell you all the funding you can get now. We will do a free check with the business credit reporting agencies to tell you if you're set up now. We will help you get your free business credit reports. We will also take a look at your fundability to see how fundable your business is now. You can also get approved directly with us online at creditsuite.com/get funding. If you go there, you go right to our funding team, and our funding team will talk to you about all the funding options you have, and you can also give us a ring. But we talked about a lot of options, how to stay away from SBA cap lines to the big banks right now, how to use inventory, stocks, bonds, 401ks, IRAs to get credit lines, how to use your account receivables, customers paying you on terms, how to get credit lines, how to use your revenue to get credit lines. We talked about how to get money from private investors with credit lines today. We talked about one of my favorites, artificial intelligence credit lines, and we also talked about the credit line hybrid, 0% rates up to $150,000. A lot of different credit lines we talked about today. So give us a ring at 877-600-2487 or get approved at creditsuite.com/get funding. Here's where we will be. If you're in real estate or interested in investing in real estate, we will be talking about real estate financing in the next stream that we do. So again, gives you an overview of what we will be doing this week in our later streams. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Give us a ring if we can help you get funding for your business, 877-600-2487. Thanks everybody. Have a great day.